Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon his last and final messenger. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here. And family, today's topic is something that should actually be at the forefront of attention in every Black community, particularly every Black masjid, if you want to build a culture of excellence. And this is something that other people groups have been practicing, and they know with it is kind of woven into their culture. And Black folks have been separated from this particular aspect in our culture, and we do the opposite of what other folks are doing, and that is the education versus entertainment what you call it ratio. Education versus entertainment ratio. So what is the education versus entertainment ratio? It is essentially comparing the amount of money that you spend on your entertainment as opposed to on your education. Okay, it's basically that's how the traditional way of breaking it down is, right? How much money you spend on your entertainment, and you compare that to how much money you spend on your education. And there are now, and since then, it's evolved to the amount of time that you put into your education as opposed to the amount of time you put into entertainment. And we said here before that Black folks spend the most amount of time by far than any other people group in their entertainment. But the shocking part is how little they actually spend in education, especially comparing it to other people groups. So when you look at the numbers, it is actually astonishing. It is really astonishing, right? When you compare to what other people are doing as opposed to Black people, because we do not have a culture of, for example, reading or doing homework with the kids or anything like that. And again, there's some historical context to this. However, if you, as I mentioned before in the beginning, if you want to change the culture, then this should be at the forefront of all issues, right? Along with family stability and things of this nature, right? Because what will end up happening is that you will have generational uh, backwardness if education is given little to no value, and you value your entertainment over education. So we have gotten our sister Michelle Renee Davis. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sis. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inna alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. I cannot complain. It is a beautiful, beautiful day.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we're very happy to have you here. And also, I mean, you heard my little spiel,
Mhm.
right? So, what can you just give us some words about this particular thing and how it relates to your field directly?
So, what I think that sometimes people don't understand is that one, when we talk about education,
Hmm.
I'm not talking about traditional education where you send your children to school and then they go off to college and they spend all this money to get into debt.
Hmm.
When we talk about education, we're talking about educating our own based on what are the cultural implications, right? Because
Hmm.
a lot of us do not know us and what we need to succeed and to excel.
Hmm.
And in general, also too, I recently just to give you some context, I recently decided to homeschool my kids.
Hmm.
And in Philadelphia, you gotta go to school district, tell them you're gonna homeschool them. And they said, hey, you have to develop a curriculum. You can go on a school district website and have the guideline for how to structure the curriculum.
Hmm.
I swear by my Lord. From kindergarten to about fourth grade, it's the same curriculum. From fifth
Hmm.
grade all the way up to eighth grade, it's the same curriculum. From ninth grade to 12th grade, it's the same curriculum.
Hmm.
They're literally teaching your children absolutely nothing
Yeah.
years and years and years. And when I sat back and thought about it, and if anybody who's a parent, and when they be like, why are they teaching math like this? All they do is try to recreate it to teach the kids the same thing year after year after year to make it seems as if they're teaching your children something different.
Hmm.
Most kids are graduating high school with a fourth and fifth grade reading level. And it's
Reading level.
because
Yep.
the curriculum is the same. But even if you go to a great public school and you're like, wait, my child's vocabulary is amazing, they are, blah, 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 blah. Alhamdulillah.
Hmm.
However, right? However, they're still illiterate.
Hmm.
You might ask how I'm saying that they're still illiterate because the United States of America is not governed based off the language in English that they teach us in schools.
Hmm.
It's about laws
Yeah.
and lawyer terms and judges terms and political terms, and that's how this country is run.
Hmm.
And so basically, because I remember I was watching this video where they were reading the laws from way back when slavery time. It was very simple laws, but that's because the slaves were illiterate.
Hmm.
So they
Yeah.
couldn't read, right?
Hmm.
So then when we started learning to read, they changed the way they speak as in laws,
Hmm.
make us continue to be ignorant.
Well, I'm very glad that you brought this up. Right. So we gotta give you for that with the confetti, Sister Michelle Renee. Right, we got to get you some confetti there. Right, so the thing is, when you mentioned that, this is very important because there's some historical context to this. For those who are not aware, there is a system of benign neglect that is intentionally inflicted on the Black community. So families and Black folks are kind of they're trained to send their kids to these schools. But because of this particular system, the school itself is not geared to produce what you would call it.
Thinkers,
Yeah, yeah, like
innovators.
members of society. That's not what the schools are there for. The schools are there to have a veneer or an appearance that they're educating children, right? While producing the same type of backwardness in the Black community. This is exactly the goal and the purpose of benign neglect. So when you're sending your children to these public schools, your tax money is going to white folks schools so that they can get the best books, they can get the best teachers, they can get the best resources. Whereas in the Black schools, what you're seeing is teachers are essentially handcuffed in doing their jobs, and they become uh, babysitters to young adults.
Mm,
They're there just to break up fights. They're there to, you know,
mhm,
become mediators for violence, and counselors for children going through different types of but they can't essentially do their jobs. Now you can go read the stats yourself. You can read the stats for example in Chicago, which is the big one, where a large percentage
Absolutely.
of the students coming out of black students coming out of Chicago public schools can't even read at any functional level, and they're graduating high school, right? So, and this goes back to what we're mentioning about the education versus entertainment, right?
Mhm.
Because our entertainment is also weaponized against us. And we mentioned Chicago. And what is the big scene going on in Chicago right now? What is the massive scene in terms of entertainment that is going on in Chicago? And it's causing massive destruction. This one thing.
Well, I don't know about Chicago, but what I do know is a lot of things that's entertainment is like blatant devil worship.
Yep, I mean we know that, of course, of course we know this, right? But the drill rap scene, right?
Oh
Came,
yes.
yes, the drill rap scene came out of Chicago, and it devastated black communities all over the place, right? And yeah. Bilal was asking, is it still drill? Yeah, it's still drill. It is still drill. Yes, it absolutely is, right? So this system of benign neglect is what causes black folk to have like and what's the word I'm looking for? An aversion to essentially educate themselves because the culture has been built to not educate yourself. You get
Mhm.
me? From the times of slavery, and I'm very glad that Sister Michelle already mentioned that because it was illegal for slaves to read, and then finally, when we got the rights to read, they tried to make it so that we couldn't vote based on our reading. And then when we started building our own schools through the Reconstruction period, so how many black communities were raised to the ground based upon, the educating of our own people. And then after integration, as we mentioned before, the best our best black teachers were sent to the white schools, and the worst white teachers were sent to the black schools under integration, right? So, it's Sister Michelle Rennie, she mentioned about homeschooling, which is what I personally believe that every messenger should be on top of the homeschooling thing, and they should support and organize homeschooling networks everywhere in the Muslim community because that I don't support the public school system, particularly for black kids. But go ahead, Sister Michelle Renee.
But the problem is we have, when you divide, you conquer. So
Yeah,
a lot of people don't even trust anyone, you know.
yeah,
And or, one thing black people love to do is throw the baby out with the bathwater.
hmm
They'll disagree with one thing that someone says, one man says, and then he a deviant, he this, he that, and they just
yeah,
go
yeah,
back
mm,
and then they start just villainizing that person, whether they wrong or right. And a lot of and one of
mm,
the things that I find a lot of black people have a huge issue with is that they're debating with no knowledge.
yeah, yeah. Of course, we talked about this a couple of days ago,
Mhm,
actually, about the dogmatism, right?
mhm,
And the dogmatism itself is something that, in my opinion, is something that the enemy inserted into the black community in order to cause more division because we never had these
mhm.
overly dogmatic argumentation between black folk before. This is something that we just
Yeah.
started seeing in the late 90s and early 2000s and never existed before that,
Mhm,
right? And now it's kind of reached there. I think it kind of reached a boiling point with the Salafis, and now it's really, really tapered down. But now the Asha'ira, they're kind of getting into this thing now, right? And in my humble opinion, right, dogmatism itself is one of the is a big killer of progress
mhm.
within the Muslim community, particularly the Black Muslims,
Absolutely.
because every aspect of our history is one of interruption where other folks come in and introduce some stuff that we never had, like these dogmatic arguments. We never had these before. We don't even have any need for them now, to be
Mhm,
honest. It
mhm.
don't help us in any of our situations
No.
whatsoever, right? But if we can work together in order, for example, like we're saying, to formulate homeschooling networks
Mhm,
and programs, and which is so easy for the masajid to do anyways. I think it's one of the easiest thing that the masajid can organize. It's like a home schooling network and put the sisters in a position to succeed at homeschooling. I think that this would definitely change the game in terms of the education versus entertainment
Mhm.
ratio. But go ahead, sister.
Especially, when you think about, see, this is what people don't understand about entertainment, right? Is
Mm,
that, all right, I don't know if anybody knows this. However, so sometimes when I'm doing therapy, I always say to someone, I say, hey, do you think you're utilizing your free will? No, I said, I asked them, what is free will first?
mm,
People are like, oh, it's the ability to do, um, what you see fit, blah, 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 blah. And I always ask people, do you think that you're exercising your free will to the extent that Allah has given us?
mm,
Of course, you say yes, but really we don't. A lot of times we're operating off of habits and things that we had just repetitively done over and over and over again. That's in
mm,
our unconscious, right? Because like if I touch a hot stove, I don't need to think that the stove is hot and to move my hand. That's
mm.
that's how behaviors is after a while.
Yeah.
An example that I'll use is like you ever drove a car and you know that you want to go to the store that's around the corner from your house, but you still end up at home. It's because your
Mm,
unconscious mind took over and literally did your normal let's go home.
mm.
So are we really exercising that free will? And so when you think about entertainment and how that's happening is that what we're doing is we keep listening to that same song or watch that same movie it
Yep.
seeps into your unconscious and you start acting it out
Emulating those behaviors. Yep. Emulating those
inside,
behaviors. Yep.
and I see it time and time again with different kinds of things like in general, whether
Mm,
that's violence.
mm.
People like, oh, I'll fight a beep 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 in a
Yeah,
minute. And it's
yeah,
like, are you really a fighter? And I'm not saying are you really a fighter, like you won't do it, but is that who you really want to be? No, that's not. Then why are you still acting like that? Why are you still behaving like that? You have no idea. Yeah, because you listen to all the Cardi B's and you listen to the Megan Thee Stallions and
yeah.
all those kind of people who are promoting violence.
Mm. Yep. Yep.
And it's
And
hard to let go of those things when it's you literally bombarded with it over and over and over again.
yeah, and within black entertainment, there's a huge element of you could say psychological operations, right? Psyops, right?
Mhm,
And we already know about this. Like the CIA, they ain't even denying it. Okay,
mhm.
they're not even denying it, right? They talked about how they wanted black feminism within the black community, and they are the ones who got what's her name? What's her name again? Somebody put her in Steinem. What's her name? Margaret Steinem. I can't remember. Somebody put her name in the Gloria Steinem. That's her. Okay, into the black community to push black feminism with it in the 60s and 70s and whatnot. They're not
Yeah.
even they're not hiding it no more. So all of these entertainers that we see, like your Glorillas and your Sexy Reds, now not a Sexy Red, right? And Sexy Red, can you imagine Sexy Red? She was voted in Rolling Stone magazine the best rap artist of best rap song in 2000. Can you imagine this? Sexy Red. Can you? That's a
Honestly,
psychological operation. That's a
honestly,
psyop.
I have no idea because I don't know none of her music.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
time I hear the name, I just like Sexy Red. Like,
yeah,
just the
yeah.
name turns me off. Like,
Yeah, even the name, man. Her voice, everything, man. I can't even listen to her voice at all. It's like having razors, go scraping my ears or something. But anyways, I want to get into this article, sis. So just let me just pull it up here. Like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon. Let me just pull it up here. I'll let you yeah, give your little thoughts a little bit until I get this ready for everybody. Okay, so go ahead.
yeah.
take
So,
take the mic.
and I think that what I will call upon in our communities is for men to start taking their rightful places as leaders. And when I say rightful places as leaders, I want people to truly understand what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the bums.
Mm.
The bums can stay the bums. Like, 'cause sometimes, I'll be saying things and they be like, "Well, what if give me?" I'm not talking about him. I'm not
Mhm,
talking about the guy who has arrested development, that's 35 years old living with his mom, not the
mm,
35-year-old that's taking care of his mom, the
mm,
35-year-old that's living with his mom. They don't know how to pay bills. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about
mm,
men who are men who needs to stand up and connect also with other leaders. This
Mm.
pride stuff got to go out this window. The what else is like you know, collaborating with other leaders in the communities. We can't do everything by ourselves.
Yeah, we're
Not
way too individualistic.
we
Way
need
too
them out.
individualistic.
It's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Even when it comes to schooling, like black children have this have developed this habit that they have to do everything by themselves, while other groups are learning to work in groups from in school at a young age, at preteen age. They're working together, they're doing homework to do it together. They have all
Mhm,
kinds of after school programs and homework clubs and everything like
mhm,
that, where black children, their routine is essentially when they finish school finishes at the time the school bell rings. They don't go home and have homework clubs or anything. And how many of our children even do homework to begin with? And furthermore, because the family itself, the family unit is so
no, wait.
mm,
The craziest thing is homework. I actually
mm,
do not agree with homework. Actually, statistically,
mm,
homework has no benefit.
yeah,
Around the world, we're the only ones that try to push homework. And I
mm,
believe, what I really believe why homework exists is one, to put on a facade like you're doing stuff, but
mm,
also it's the over to get children used to the fact of overworking.
mm-hmm,
I was in school all day, learn, 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 learn. Then I still go home. Now I'm taking schoolwork home. And a lot of people do that today. We
mm.
go to work for 8 hours and then we'll take our work home and continue to do it. And I think it's just a pre-programming to teach us to keep working.
Sister, in terms of the black community, there is a habit of going home and entertaining yourselves right after school, and there's nothing in terms of further self-development. And even I read an article that black folks, after they finish college, they don't read. After they finish college, we have these type of habits, right? Whereas every other people group, they have the habit of reading after
Mhm,
college and self-study and self-improvement, right? So I wanted to get into some of these articles, right? So one second
mhm,
here. So this is the first one, right? This is a general article on education versus entertainment ratio. One second, let me just pull it up here.
mhm,
One second, y'all. All right. So what is your education versus entertainment ratio? Okay. Too many Americans are happily entertaining themselves into misery. As a nation, we spend millions of dollars and countless hours each month on entertainment. The amount of time that we spend learning and interacting with people is declining, while our ability to think deeply and find satisfaction in daily living are going down with it. This we know is a fact, right? Particularly with the rise of social media. And as a matter of fact, in China, they have government policies. Like, about TikTok in China. Do you, Sister Michelle? You know about TikTok in
mhm,
China? Right? So
mhm,
the TikTok in China is nothing like the TikTok over here. They have, and by the way, TikTok came out of China. So the
mhm,
TikTok over here is for entertainment and viral videos and all this kind of stuff. TikTok in China is essentially teaching kids about engineering, reading, and they're very creative videos as well. They're very entertaining, but it's all things that increase your creativity, right? And over here is the opposite. And we understand there's a link between social media and social isolation, right?
mhm,
Which causes all these other mental illnesses. But anyways, I digress. Let's keep reading. Years ago, my friend Tom Murphy and I came up with a simple ratio that seemed to tell us a great deal about how a person was functioning in their professional life and their personal life. We call it the EVE ratio. EVE, or EVE, is an acronym that stands for education versus entertainment. It is a ratio of dollars and time a person spends on education and personal growth versus dollars and time spent in entertainment each month. It can be a stunning and sobering exercise to add up how much time and how much money you spend in each month in entertainment, especially in the contrast of how much you might spend reading, learning, and interacting with people. I would often suggest that my clients take the stock of EVE ratio and ask themselves, am I spending my time and money and activities that are are tension relieving or goal achieving, right? And if you look at high achievers, very high achievers, just any random high achiever, very few of them are spending loads amount of time on entertainment, right? They're always improving on their craft, right? But I wanted to know if you wanted to chime in here, Sister Michelle.
Well, when it comes to entertainment, especially it has no benefits.
Hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, we all need some wind down time and things like that. But it should not be all day. Like, we're not, all you don't think about entertainment as a bunch of junk just being, your brain is like a computer. It's just downloading all of this useless information that's not, and as Muslims, that is not going to help you in your akhirah.
Hmm.
It just doesn't. It's not
All
going
right.
to assist you. It's not going to aid you. It's not going to nothing. All it does is keep you complacent in what you have going on in your life.
So this part right here, where they wrote in this op-ed, right? It's very profound, right? He says the best counterbalance to an entertainment culture are, drum roll, please, culture, people, and books. Okay, so the best counterbalance is people and books. This is what people have been doing for centuries before this rise of propaganda and entertainment, right? Within the last century, right? So if you look at how many geniuses were produced in the Renaissance eras and whatnot, it's because they were interacting with people and they were reading books, right? But now it's not like that anymore. The entertainment industry has produced a whole bunch of bots, right? And they kind of mass produce a type of person where everybody is the same, and you can tell exactly what their person's what that person listens to musically, or what their political ideology is, just by talking to them or just looking at them for a few seconds. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Because creativity has been withdrawn from people, right? So hold on one second. Here we go. Charlie Tremendous Jones once wrote, "You will be much the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people that you meet and the books that you read." So, what do you think about that, Sister Michelle?
I believe that is so true. I
Hmm.
believe that's so true because I've seen people who are like go in the music industry and there's no growth, no um nothing until you start to really get into interacting with, like for example, I always ask clients to, I say, hey, do you, because they'll be like, oh, I asked such and such, blah, 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 or whatever the case may be, and I'll be like, do rich people hang around broke people? No, because
Yeah,
as a businesswoman, I hang around other business people because I
yeah,
learn from them, I grow from them, and then as I grow and even or outgrow them, I wind up meeting new people to help me further those things along.
hmm,
And you keep growing and changing and developing as you meet new people, have new experiences, read different kinds of books, so that
hmm.
you can grow. That's how
Yep,
you grow.
yep, yep. You will eventually outgrow, the people that you're around, if they don't progress with you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so the friends that you had in high school will not be the same type of friends you have in college or university or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a completely different group of people, right? But
Mhm.
in order to witness that, you have to be doing the work, right? Which is what we're trying to get at right now. We have to build a culture, particularly in the Black community, of valuing education,
Mhm.
right? This is the culture we have to build. We
Yep.
have to essentially nurture in our people that individualism will not get you very far at all, right? Working together as a group is the way to go. Making sacrifices is the way to go. And investing in your education and not your indoctrination is
Mhm.
absolutely the way to go, right? So this part here, this op-ed here, right? This one was the one that was really shocking for me. Okay, so it's titled "Black Americans on the Eve Ratio." Okay, so the author, her name is Shanti Marie, right? So she writes, "Are you someone who loves to enjoy life and eat out every day? Do you binge watch shows on Netflix for hours on end? If you sat and wrote down where you spent and burnt your money and time, where would that be? You can gauge how well a person is doing in life based on their Eve ratio. Eve stands for education versus entertainment ratio, which measures the amount of money or time Americans spend. Well, we could say anyone really, right? But on entertainment versus the money and time they spend on education. Theoretically, those who are more successful in life have a lower ratio. Okay, so you want your ratio to be low. You want your education versus entertainment ratio to be low. Okay, you see, the higher the ratio, the less successful statistically you are, because the higher the ratio, the more you value lifestyle over education. Okay, I read I read that the average American EVE ratio is 50 to 1, meaning that's $50 spent on entertainment for every $1 spent on education. So, what do you think about that ratio there, Sister Michelle Renee?
I feel like I'm guilty. No. Um, it's certain things I feel like you should get rid of. Like, for example, I don't have a TV in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I barely watch TV anyway. But like
Mhm.
certain things, like just to give people, some strategies, because like sometimes it's great to talk about the problem, but sometimes what we neglect is giving people strategies on how to make their thing happen. Um,
Mhm.
so maybe not having a TV in your bedroom and in every room in the house. Literally in my house, we had two TVs. And the only reason why
Mhm.
we had two is because my mom lived with me, so she got her TV in her room. But it's me and my sons, and we have one TV, and we
Mhm.
all share it. That's number one, because you don't need a TV in every room. Then you got the man cave. Then you got the movie
Mhm.
theater. Then you got all like no.
Mhm.
Two, pick up a book, and even if it's in the morning time, start with reading for 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Like read something for 15 minutes to learn something new, or gain something new.
Mhm.
You know, obviously invest in yourself when it comes to your career, your goals, your your dreams, your aspirations.
Mhm.
Those things are needed. And obviously, let's see, get some therapy, because it's to help change whatever kind of patterns that you have, which I think was a great book, which is called The Power of Habits. It's an
Mhm.
amazing book on how to change habits and do things differently. Because because when I tell you, I totally agree, because this year, like, I was planning this lavish vacation, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to go to Hajj next year in 2025." Blah blah blah
Mhm.
blah, and I'm like, if I can go on vacation this year, why can't I go on Hajj this year? I can't go on Hajj this year because it's just way too soon.
Yeah.
But I decided to do Umrah instead.
Yeah.
But those are the things that we will, because one of the things about the tricks of shaitan is he don't want us to necessarily stop and not do something. He want us to delay it. So
Yeah.
we'll delay. We'll be like, oh, I'm going to sign up for that Quran class. Oh, I'm going to
Mhm.
sign up for this class. I'm going to do this. But yet, while you're thinking all those things, you're sitting in front of a TV. While you're
Mhm.
thinking of all these things, you're planning your next vacation. When you're thinking about all these things, you signing up for the next concert or Lion King or
Mhm.
whatever it is, entertainment that you're going to do to get that dopamine rush.
Yeah. That's really what it is.
It boils down
At
to,
the end of the day,
it's
that's
really
really
an
what.
addiction
Yeah. Mhm.
to things.
Mhm. That's really what it is. $50 spent on entertainment to $1 spent on education is excessively high by any
Mhm,
stretch of the especially in our time, where
mhm,
it wasn't like back in the day where you had, cable TV and satellite TV and maybe 100 channels, or if you're satellite 500 channels. People don't really watch TV like that anymore. Now everything is
mm.
on the internet. Everything is on the internet for free. Okay,
Yeah, and I
so
saw a great quote about what we're talking about today, where it said, "When a man can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure."
Yes, exactly. And that's what this is. But the entertainment nowadays, it's really, particularly for Black folk, is really investing in your own indoctrination. That's why our entertainers are bent on destroying our own communities, like your Sexy Reds and your Glorilla, and you know what I mean. So if you're spending that much money on entertainment in this time, that is a crazy ratio. $50 to $1 for every entertainment dollar, right? But it gets even worse. So let's keep reading, okay? She continues that that's $50 spent on entertainment for every $1 spent on education. That's in America, okay?
Mhm.
That is not a good number, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put this
No.
into perspective. According to ZipRecruiter, the average salary in California is $65,000 a year. So let's say after rent and taxes, basic expenses you have is $25,000 of expendable cash. That means you choose to spend $24,500 on entertainment and $500 on education. So she's putting it in numbers, like in dollars and
Mhm.
cents. So for every $24,500 you spend on entertainment, you spend $500 on education. That this also means that you choose to spend 7 days straight binge watching your favorite shows on Netflix before you spend one day reading a book, watching an educational video, or working on any professional development. This is insane. That is absolutely insane.
Yes.
And that's the average American. Okay, so she continues. I recently heard the phrase, when white America catches a cold, black America gets pneumonia. Want to guess the median, what the median amongst black Americans? Okay, so according to USA Today, this is crazy. Okay, watch. According to USA Today, the average black American spends 72 hours a week watching TV.
Ooh.
You don't even work 72 hours a week. Nobody works like this. I don't think anybody works 72 hours a week. Maybe 50, maximum 60. 72 hours a week watching TV. There are 168 hours in a week, people. That's 43% of your week spent watching TV.
And basically you're just watching program. I mean, literally. And the thing about America is that they don't hide what they're doing. TV is literally called programming.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah.
It's called programming. It's not called programming for a reason.
Look at Charles Irby. That's insane. I know this is true because I see some of the stuff y'all are sharing with me on WhatsApp. I'm like, I would even think about looking at about like 90% of the stuff. I love y'all, but like 90% of the stuff y'all sharing with me is like, how did you even find this stuff? Okay, how did you find this? 72 hours, y'all. 72 hours in a week. That's terrible. That's beyond terrible.
Hmm.
72 hours you could memorize the book of Allah. 72 hours you can get a bachelor's or a master's. 72 hours you can get your high school. 72, you know how many things you can do with 72 hours? You could learn a language. You can learn 2 languages.
Yeah.
You can learn 72. Oh, man. Anyways, we're not done. Okay, look here. There are 168 hours in a week, people. That's 43 hours per week. 43% of your week spent watching TV. You sleep 8 hours a day and you go to work 8 hours a day, which doesn't leave much time for much else.
Mhm.
So if what is the EVE of the average black person? The source is Bing. Okay, Bing says the average black American spends, get this, y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. Okay, the average black American spends, drum roll please, $200 of entertainment for every $1 of education or professional development.
Damn!
Go ahead, Sister Michelle Renee.
Listen, when I tell you that that is detrimental to your mental health, like I promise you, like watching TV is not good for your health. It is a waste. It is a waste of your time. Like I promise you, it's not going to help you even in this life. Like it feels good, and I think what's the issue is that it feels good to just sit there and do nothing, and just like waste away. However, a lot of those things are contributing to your depression or your anxiety.
Or your all kinds of mental illness. It's worse now than it was when we were growing up. When we were growing up, let me tell you, my grandma used to babysit us by putting us in front of the TV. This is how we were raised. Okay. Well, before we went to school, she put us in front of the TV. When we got home from school, we were put in front of the TV, and we grew up like that. Okay. You know what I mean? And this is how most, I'm not sure, well, I can speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure that many black families are just like that, right? They're just like that, and now we have this generation of, single parent homes, and the mothers, they themselves, they do not want to, you know, be put to task for raising children, okay? There's so many problems in the black community, many problems, right? So they're
I'm gonna pause you right there, only because statistically, and I know people are gonna, sometimes come from my head about this, but men, good men, let's make
Mhm,
it clear, will raise children better than women.
mhm,
That's why in Islam, when you have baby, you rear them while you're, breastfeeding, and you give them to your husband,
mhm.
and they raise them. Because I don't know if you remember the statistics about single parents, single mothers raising children, and
Oh
how
yeah.
they're more likely to be rapists, go to jail, be
Mhm,
murderers, do all of those kinds of things, and they should be raised by their fathers. And
mhm,
so women not wanting to do that is
mhm,
actually an indication of being a good mom if you
mhm,
put them where they belong, which is with dad, if dad is a good father.
mhm. And we know very well, Sister Michelle, that in the black community, the government financially incentivizes
Mhm,
black women to make sure there's no black men in the home by any means necessary. Whether it's they will tell the black woman, you can have this house, you can have your food stamps, whatever, right? You can live in this place as long as there's no man in the house, right?
mhm,
When they have children, what do? They send the fathers of their children to court to get, basically, uh financially bankrupt them in order to get some. I mean, it's the system itself is insane, right? it's,
mhm.
it's meant to destroy the family. 100% is meant to destroy the family. And many, as you know, within our community, black people have kind of fallen for the okey doke when it comes to
Mhm,
these issues, right? So there has to be a culture of, at least a small group. And I really believe the best chance for the black community is in the masjid. It
mhm,
really is, right? It really is. And if the imams, I mean, the very minimum that the masajid can do is actually organize homeschooling groups in the mosque, so that we can curb these, detrimental behaviors for the next generation.
mhm.
You get me?
Yes.
So go ahead, sister, Michelle Renee.
Yeah. So, and I think that, because I totally agree with you, like organizing and things like that. But us as Black people, we have to see value in it and also participate. Because I could
Yes.
organize a whole thing. It could be, bing, bada boom, and be
Mhm,
amazingly set up. But if no one enrolls, no one volunteers, it's going to fail. And the
mhm.
reason why a lot of it fails, and I'm gonna tell you why, is because we're spending too much money in entertainment. Because
Yep.
because we're spending so much money in entertainment, we don't have enough money to pay our bills, which means we're working to keep up with our lifestyle, which is not conducive for the next generation to be able to have a chance.
And there's another whatchamacallit, point to that pendulum as well, right? Because now internet is so easily accessible and cheap that people can invest their time into their entertainment. And this is exactly what people are doing, right? And if you look at particularly for social media, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Social media should be called anti-social media. Or it shouldn't be called social media. It makes people more uh, diametrically opposed in views, and it fosters what's this, like it basically fosters argumentation. Social media.
Yes, because people can be Facebook scholars and Instagram scholars,
Oh
and
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
right, and then they have this following that tells them that they're right.
Mm,
Or like one time this guy I had talked was I was talking about statistics that men who get married actually live longer.
mm,
That's statistically accurate. And so he said, "Oh, statistics can be manipulated." I'm like, "Absolutely, statistics can be manipulated." I said, "But however, in this case, this is just not one of those manipulations. That's just the reality of it." I was like, and I think more so is because us as women, we were like, "Yo, you need to go to the doctor. I scheduled your appointment. Make sure you go get your prostate." Say, I know you don't want to go to the urologist, but you got to go because you're more likely to die of prostate cancer than women. So let's go. And a guy be like, "Oh, my heart," and you be like, "It's time for you to go to the doctors." Oh, he was having a heart attack. I'm not surprised. So I think that's one of the reasons why men live longer when they get married, because women, we start to look after your health and things like that.
and
And
it's natural as well. It is natural. You're
that's
right. You're
natural.
100% right.
So
Right.
he says, "Well, my grandfather got married and he died early." I said, "Okay, I don't think you understand statistics. I'm not saying that this is going to be true for every man, because when it's time for the angel of death to come, that's what's going to happen.
Mm,
But obviously, the things that we do play a part in the quality of our health,
mm,
regardless." And so I was like, "Well, listen." I was like, "If you want to go back and forth with scholars in the field about health and marriage and social stuff," I said, "Why don't you go back, get your degree, um, and become a scholar in that, and present your case."
mm,
And he was like, "You are so rude."
mm,
No, that's what you're supposed to do if you want to have an opinion.
mm.
You can't just come on here and just have an opinion because your
Just
father.
because you have a social media following, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, and
And
that's
then
that's
you
what it's turned into.
And then you have women who are pick me's like, "Oh my God, that was so crazy." And it's like, sis,
Mhm.
relax.
Yeah.
He's not being disrespected. I'm
Mhm.
telling him the steps that he need to take
Yeah.
to have a valid opinion.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Nowadays, it doesn't require work to become like a star in social media. And as a matter of fact, if y'all don't take away anything, take away this. Okay, what is the number one choice for children when they say what they want to be when they grow up? What is the number one thing they want to be grow up in 2023? It's not like
Athletes.
1983, not 1993. What is the number one thing in 2023?
Athletes.
No, not athlete. No, it's not
No,
athlete.
not.
That's old school.
I
That's old
correct.
school.
I'm
That's
not
old school. Does
touched.
anybody know?
Oh
And
my
thanks, brother Bilal. The word I was looking for, the social media fosters polarization. And of course, Sister Tika, she got to put her own 2 cents. It also fosters weirdos. Thank you, Sister Tika. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. It fosters weirdos. Okay. Right. So Royal Generals says rappers. And that's not rappers. It's not rappers. Bilal says famous. Bilal is the closest one. Bilal is the closest one,
Okay.
right? But it got to be more specific than faces. Rappers are famous. Athletes are famous. The number one occupation sought after occupation for adolescents and pre-adolescents is what? What is it?
Oh, we don't know.
You don't know?
Oh, I don't
Social media influencers.
know. Why didn't I know that?
Thank you. Roseanne's got it. Social media celebrity. That's what it is. That's what it is. Social media influencer.
Uh, so
Nobody trying to be a policeman, a fireman, a doctor, a lawyer, not even a rapper or an athlete anymore. They want to be Sneeko in them. You know what I'm saying?
Bombastic side eye. Criminal offensive side eye. Do you understand?
They want to be Ali Dawa. They want to be, all these social media influencers, man. Anyway, go ahead, sis.
Oh, subhanallah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's so many ways to no. I think I love being a therapist. Like that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do. I couldn't like I influence what? What are they influencing?
I mean,
What?
it's the way that we used to look at TV stars and rappers back in the day. That's how they're looking at social media influencers today. You get me?
They have
They're
no
looking to get rich off of
there's no
being,
substance. It's no
degenerates.
substance. When I was because I know somebody that watch all that and I'm like, I said that's pointless nonsense that they're talking about.
Yeah, it is pointless. It is nonsense, and it's ridiculous. And I can't stomach most of it. But if you look at Muslim YouTube, you wouldn't be surprised. You would not be surprised, right? So if Muslim YouTube is like that, you can imagine the rest of YouTube. You get me? It's insane, And how many times I said on this channel, I'm gonna say it. I said it before. I'm gonna say it again. I might be on YouTube, but I'm not a YouTuber. Don't confuse me with a YouTuber. That I am not that. Okay, I am not that. Brother Bilal, he says representation matters. We copy what we see. Back in the day, we wanted to be heroes and builders because that's what we our superheroes were. Yep. Now we are the Sneakos, etc. of the world. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. So for us, for Black folk, because we are so far down on the social totem pole, right? There is actually a massive opportunity for the Black community because what is happening now is that the ills that destroyed the Black community are spilling over to other communities by nature. Okay, they're spilling over to other folks' communities, and we already have experience dealing with all these ills, right? So if we are dedicated to fixing the ills, and which not only I think, I know that it's very, very. I have no doubt that we can actually do it. And particularly it starts in the masjid, in my opinion, right? Then we will have an opportunity to not only build ourselves up and put ourselves in a respectable position, but for generations to come as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Sister Michelle Renee, I'll let you uh, finish off your final thoughts here, and then we'll call it a night, inshallah.
Inshallah ta'ala. So I just think that, also remembering that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that He will not change the conditions of the people until they change what is within themselves. And so just being mindful that when you want things to change, like obviously one, you have to start with yourself, because then also Allah says like save yourself and then your family from the fire. So you have to start with you, then you have to start with your family,
Mm-hmm.
and then you gonna start to branch out. But if you're
Exactly.
not right and your family not right, get those things straight and get those things together and start reaching out to other people as things, progress and moving in your life. And I think if people start focusing on that, because I think a lot of people too, not a lot of another issue that I always see a lot is people always be like, oh, I was just giving them a reminder because reminders benefits the believers. And alhamdulillah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And you should remind yourself first and your
Yes.
family, and then
Yes.
go out and start doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I want to second what Mr. Michelle Renee said. You're nothing like a Mister, okay? Nothing like
Mashallah.
okay. And I want to second that. And a lot of these reminders that these people do, they're not actual reminders. They're just inflating their egos because they can, because social media is accessible and available, right? So, but as for Black people, what is upon you is humility,
Mhm.
and listening twice as much as you talk, and learning from each other, and humbling yourself and be willing to learn, and essentially working together, right? And we stress that so much here work together, support your imams, don't speak about them. Even if other folks are speaking about them, you don't open your mouth about them. Let other folks speak about them. Support your imams and remain silent in the times of fitna, as the Prophet advised us. So I'd like to thank everybody who joined us tonight. I'd like to thank our sister guest, Sister Michelle Ren. Jazakallah khair once again. Thank you for coming through, Sister Michelle. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys tomorrow, inshallah. Okay? Subhanakallah bihamdik. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.